Good morning. I'm Charles Chrestman, and today is Sunday, August the 30th. I hope you and yours are doing well. Today we'll be studying in the Old Testament book of Song of Songs. This will be our second lesson from this material that chronicles Solomon's romantic relationship with a Shulamite woman. There are several voices in the poem that we are studying. One of those is Solomon himself. The others are from various women included in the poem. Our lesson today contains three focal passages. If you would like to follow along, grab your Bible and turn to Song of Songs in the Old Testament. Flip over to chapter 5. You'll be good to go. If you have an Explore the Bible study guide, then turn to page 118. That should be session 13, and you'll also be good to go if that is your reference. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the lesson. Last week, as Song of Songs was introduced, we learned that this Bible book serves as a poetic chronicle of Solomon's romantic relationship with a Shulamite woman. Their conversation swirled around their obvious attraction to each other and their growing love for one another in chapters 1 and 2. They talked about the threats to their relationship. She encouraged Solomon to guard the love they shared together, and she affirmed the devotion to each other on over in chapter 2. It's easy to notice how dedicated the soon-to-be husband and wife were to each other. The man and woman in the poem presented us with a snapshot of the way love in a marriage should express itself through mutual submission. As we move into today's lesson, the man and woman are married and learning how to live as one as they grow in their relationship. They have demonstrated the value of investing in each other instead of giving up on one another when they face conflict. Because of her trust and the love they shared, we see in today's lesson that the wife took initiative to strengthen their marriage by making investments in this relationship. Sometimes it was a getaway from work, sometimes it was a talk, at other times it was a chariot ride. When we're young, we tend to invest in diplomas and careers, cars, and possibly a house. If we have enough resources, we may invest in a fitness center membership or join a country club. But as we get older, we make different kinds of investments. We're inclined to invest in property, mutual funds, and retirement plans. The point to this is our needs change as time passes, and so do our perspectives on what matters most. Whether young or old, we're wise to invest in relationships, especially those that are important to us. So as today's lesson begins, I want to note for you that it focuses on a relationship and a cry for companionship. Now, in all likelihood, the verses in the first focal passage were from a dream, and this dream paints a picture for us. Let's see what is said here in this first focal passage. I opened to my love, but my love had turned and gone away. My heart sank because he had left. I sought him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. The guards who would go about the city found me. They beat and wounded me. They took my cloak from me, the guardians of the walls. Young women of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my love, tell him that I am lovesick. Now, earlier we saw where the woman talking here had a dream in which she searched for the man she loved. In this focal passage, she appears to have recalled another dream in which she looked for her love, who was now her husband, and he wasn't there. Frantically, she looked for him everywhere but could not find him. In verse 7, she encountered the guards as she went through the city. In her dream, however, they wounded her and disgraced her. Now, in reality, she married Solomon, the king of Israel, and for that reason, she probably would not have been mistreated by the guards, and they certainly would not have beaten her and left her with painful wounds. I think the beating she described appears to have been a figurative way to describe the deep emotional pain she felt over the mysterious departure of her husband. In verse 8, we see that she was lovesick. She wanted her husband's companionship. Why? Because he was the centerpiece of her life. The painful cry of the woman sheds light on the need for couples to work at their marriage relationship by being present for one another. Marriages can get into trouble when spouses are distant from each other emotionally, even though they're present physically. As Bertrand Russell once said, those who have never known the deep intimacy and the intense companionship of happy mutual love have missed the best thing life has to give. In verse 8, we saw that the woman sought help from a young women of Jerusalem. In turn, we would expect the women of Jerusalem to carry out the woman's order. As we see in the next focal passage, their response was something entirely different. Let's take a look at our second focal passage. What makes the one you love better than another, most beautiful of women? What makes him better than another that you would give us this charge? Interesting question. As we see in this passage, instead of accommodating the woman, the women of Jerusalem ask her to tell them why her true love was better than any other man. The question raised by the young women of Jerusalem deserves to be taken seriously by believers today. What makes a wife certain that her husband is better than another? What prompts a husband to believe that his wife rises above any other woman? The answer to such questions can only be found in the bedrock commitments a husband and wife make to each other in marriage. These commitments serve as the foundation for the couple's relationship. The vows repeating on the wedding day serve as much more than ceremonial statements that have little more than sentimental value. They testify that the couple will make investments in their marriage as long as they live. As the old saying goes, a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. In today's final focal passage, we see the woman declared to the young women of Jerusalem that she loved the man, and she demonstrated this by her eagerness to find him. Let's see what she says here in our third focal passage. Continuing in verse 10, my love is fit and strong, notable among 10,000. His head is purest gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves, beside flowing streams, washed in milk and set like jewels. His cheeks are like beds of spice, mounds of perfume. His lips are lilies dripping with flowing myrrh. His arms are rods of gold set in beryl. His body is an ivory panel covered with lapis lazuli, I think. His legs are alabaster pillars set on pedestals of pure gold. His presence is like Lebanon, as majestic as the cedars. His mouth is sweetness. He is absolutely desirable. This, my love, and this is my friend, young women of Jerusalem. As you may have noted, the young woman went on to tell the young women of Jerusalem what she saw in her man. In fact, she did it so well I could hardly read it. She started with the way he looked as he stood before her. She provided a number of rich details as she talked about his eyes. She compared his cheeks to beds of spice. She noted how she loved his well-shaped arms that had the appearance of gold. She considered her true love to be most charming and absolutely desirable. Just as important to her was the fact that he was a true friend. The two blessings, romance and friendship, resulted from their investments in each other. She honored their friendship as much as she relished their romance. Because she considered him to be her friend, she knew that she could count on him to be there for her no matter what happened in their future. She would be there for him too. As Ronald Reagan once says, there is no greater happiness for a man than approaching a door at the end of a day knowing that someone on the other side is waiting for the sound of his footsteps. As we come to the conclusion of our study in the Old Testament book of Song of Songs, I want to note that love between a man and a woman is certainly worthy of the Bible's attention and teachings. As you saw, the Song of Songs celebrates the joy and the passion of married love as one of God's good gifts. Likewise, such faithful love beautifully portrays God's love for and his commitment to his people. Isn't that a wonderful thought? I want to thank you for joining us this morning for this final lesson in Song of Songs. My prayer for you this coming week is that the Lord bless you and keep you. And if you have the time next Sunday morning, please tune in and catch our next Bible study. It will be starting in some new quarterly material that features the book of Isaiah, also from the Old Testament. You guys take care and have a great week.